nerds, welcome to your new favourite pop culture podcast. It's the post-credit show. I'm your host, Loosh, and I've got my boy, Dino.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
What's crack-a-lackin', son?
I'm just enjoying everything pop culture at the moment. How about you?
Mate, Yes. Yes to all of that. Yes to all of that. There's so much that's happened in the last couple of days since we recorded our DC episode. Some of you who are following us on socials would have seen some of the absolute bangers and clangers that we've got coming in 2024, including a recently announced Fallout TV series, which I'm not mad about.
Not at all for myself. I mean, I played the game, which is rare because I don't play that many games, but I did play Fallout. One of the things about Fallout, though, is I didn't see it coming. The trailer just kind of was like, oh, we're dropping this in 2 days, and then it dropped. And then I did not know anything about it until then.
By the way, another video game TV series.
Which they've been kicking along quite nicely lately.
They have been. But also, obviously House of the Dragon Season 2, The Boys Season 4, the trailer for the MonsterVerse's next entry also dropped. But the one that got me absolutely stoked, because I didn't see this one coming either, Biker Mice from Mars.
Okay, this is a personal one for me. I used to collect the toys. As a kid, really used to collect the toys. And I don't know how it's gonna go.
Well, I'll tell you how it's gonna go. It's gonna feature Ryan Reynolds, so it's gonna be fucking amazing.
Wait, is Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, baby.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah, baby.
Whew. Okay, well, he's already gonna make it a Ryan Reynolds movie, so I'm okay to watch that.
Absolutely. But then obviously, there's rumors surrounding Deadpool and all that kind of stuff, but some interesting news out of the Marvel world today. Apparently, Marvel have slimmed down their schedule.
Okay, and this came out today, was it?
There's been rumors of a slimmed down schedule recently. A really trusted leaker online has just released what looks to be the next 4 movies leading into the Kang Dynasty.
Okay, and so is there 4 leading in? Is that it?
There is only 4 movies leading into Kang Dynasty now, and those 4 movies are Deadpool 3 next year, then the Fantastic Four, then Spider-Man 4, and then Shang-Chi 2.
Oh, I'm not mad with that list of movies.
That is bringing out the fucking big guns. It sounds like Marvel has learnt their lesson and have now realized that people just want big, epic superhero movies. And that is a roster.
It is a good roster. My only thing is I don't know if they're going to cover this in the shows or they cover this in the movies, however they do it. But I want them to wrap up a couple of things, like that post-credit scene of Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. I want to see a few other things wrapped up and start to come in together. That's as long as they can touch on that and give us some great movies, I'm down. I'm down for all of it.
Now, Dino, I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet.
Yeah.
And I'm fucking sick of it.
Very good.
So I just want to vent about it for 1 minute.
Give us it. What's going on?
If you have a problem with Godzilla having pink radiation emanating from his evolved body, and if you're one of those fuck-knuckles out there who's talking about wokezilla, then this fandom is not for you.
It's a lizard.
Grow the fuck up.
It's a lizard.
That's all I have to say.
It's God, oh man, people get so in the weeds with this stuff.
Oh, they put purple and pink in the trailer. It's fucking Transzilla. Fuck off.
The names are catchy, but I saw a couple comments, not so much on that, a little bit on that, but one of the comments were like, I saw a lot of people that were really into the monster universe, and they're kind of coming out with ideas as to why this is. And someone was saying it's Godzilla's girlfriend, and the blue Godzilla will come in 3/4 of the way through the movie. And I like the kind of the fan theories before it happens. I'm down for all that too.
Look, if you don't know that Godzilla evolves, if you don't know that that's part of who Godzilla is as a creature throughout the monsterverse, and if you don't know what polonium is, which is a pink nuclear element that emanates the strongest form of nuclear reactivity of any element on the elemental table, then seriously, just fuck off.
I don't know how many people are going to know that, but I know, look, if you're into the fandom, you'll kind of know that stuff. And there's a fair bit of Godzilla comics and stuff, isn't there? There's a bunch of stuff that goes into that.
Bro, I have been talking to the author of... Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to talk about that.
Okay,
We'll get into that later. We are here to talk about another empire, another juggernaut, another absolute behemoth of an empire. What are we here to talk about tonight, do you?
mate, we are talking about Star Wars, and more specifically, the Anakin Skywalker Saga. Oh God, I don't know. Like, everyone has their thing that they love the most, right? With Marvel being a big player now since 2008, with Lord of the Rings being a massive fandom as well. But Star Wars, I mean, isn't this the one that started it all?
Mate, honestly, like I said in our first 2 episodes when I did my list, my number one most influential, most iconic, most important moment in popular culture history was the release of A New Hope.
It really was. And just how well it aged as well. I think what sits well is, for the time, they didn't use big actors. Like, Harrison Ford had just come off American... there was a movie that he had done where he was... The reason he was found, because he was doing a movie with George Lucas, and George Lucas he was the cabinet maker. Harrison Ford was the cabinet maker. Like, he was the chippy on site. And George Lucas thought he had something and put him in this movie. It was American something. We'll get the name of it a bit later. And then he was the biggest name out of the kind of lot, except for Sir Alec Guinness.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, relatively unknowns, and then became this monstrous thing that it is.
Now, obviously, movies and cinematic universes like the Star Wars universe have, it's just completely permeated popular culture. There are elements of the very first movie that still are very strong references and very important moments that people still reference in day-to-day life right now. When your creation leaves the cinema screen and becomes a part of popular culture and general day-by-day life, then my God, have you made it?
Yeah, there's not many that have, is there? I mean,
no.
I think, off the top of my head, I think Pokemon a little bit has, because of how big it is. Star Wars definitely has. Like, so many movies have made parody moments, like Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, if you've ever seen that. It's a bit of a funny parody movie, which had a big Star Wars thing. And then, Mark Hamill showed up in that too.
Well, look, you've got someone like Mark Hamill who, as a young kid, plays Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill right now is playing, amazing characters in pop culture entries, he's the most iconic voice of the Joker of the modern era.
Yeah, which is so crazy. Who would have thought, Mark Hamill from Star Wars, Luke Skywalker is the Joker?
It's not just that. He was in The Fall of the House of Usher.
That show you've been telling me to watch?
Yeah, man. And it took me a hot minute to recognize him as well, which I thought was really cool. But the character that he plays is probably one of the most dynamically different characters to anything you've ever seen Mark Hamill play previously.
I've only seen a picture of him in that show, because after you told me about it, I kind of had a gaze, because I was interested to see what he looked like. You're right. If I hadn't known straight away, I probably would have picked it on his mannerisms and stuff as I watched it.
But you don't see those mannerisms. All of those things that are typical, vintage Mark Hamill, you don't see that in that series.
Yeah, look, I have a nose for this thing. I reckon I could pick him, but at the same time, he would have been hard to get. His makeup is incredible. The
bloke has been in everything. He's made cameos in the Clone Wars, obviously. Everything Star Wars, he's made cameos in just about. He's been in SpongeBob SquarePants, for Christ's sake. He's voiced characters in SpongeBob. He's voiced characters in The Simpsons, Adventure Time, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie in 2017. Time. He's been in so much. Avatar, just absolutely crazy. Even so far as going into the Boys universe animated series Invincible.
Right.
So, for someone who was literally nobody, to becoming him and William Shatner, man. Him and William Shatner are two of the most iconic personalities in pop culture history. Full stop, end of sentence, exclamation mark, move on, go to the next topic. There's no questions there.
No, I mean like Leonard Nimoy, William Shatner, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford. They're the big names, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean...
On the note of Harrison Ford, I actually just watched the new Indiana Jones movie, Dial of Destiny, the other day.
Yeah.
I gotta say, everyone's raving about it. This goes to what we were talking about with Suicide Squad last week, but everyone's raving about it, and I'm just like...
Yeah. I actually started it. I started it the other day, but I seem to be doing this thing lately where I'm like watching a TV show and then I'm like, I'm too tired, so I'll go to bed and then I'll like pick up where I was the next day. So I'm never really watching a full one at the moment, so I'm just kind of piecing everything together.
Bro,
but
how bad is the CGI in the start where they de-age him?
So you told me about this and I was looking at it, right? And I can obviously see it, but the Uncanny Valley isn't as bad as it has been in some shows. Now,
it's not the Scorpion King.
I was going to say, it's not on the scale to the Scorpion King, which is by far the greatest movie I've ever seen in the history of the world because of that CGI.
You know how every
tongue in cheek.
You know how every podcast has that thing that they kind of reference back to in almost every episode? For us, it's going to be the Scorpion King. In 250 episodes' time, we're going to be making jokes about the Scorpion King still. I love you, Dwayne, but that movie was not it.
Was it Dwayne? I mean,
it was about as much Dwayne as it was Nicolas Cage in fucking The Flash.
Yeah. I mean, but they still did a little bit better job. I mean, newer movies, newer technology, better people at the job. But God, that Scorpion King was horrible. But we're here to talk about the Anakin Skywalker Saga, as we touched on before. And we got to go back to the first, not the first one that was released, but the first one in the series.
Episode 1.
The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, boy. My God, I remember, like, that was, what...
1999.
I was going to say late 1990s.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, just coming out of high school, having grown up on the Star Wars franchise, and, like, that book being closed in my mind. Like, right, there's Star Wars. No one knows why there's an episode 4, 5, and 6, and where episode 1, 2, and 3 are, but there it is. It's done.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, here comes episode 1. And I remember I was 17 years old, and I remember going, wait, what? Like, I couldn't believe that they were finally doing it after all the 30-something years.
Yeah. It was hard to comprehend. Like, I was young at the time. Like, I was 9 when it came out, but I still loved Star Wars, because every day I'd go home. Every time I went over to my father's place on the weekend, I'd put the VHS of, like, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, The Return of the Jedi. Back then, Return of the Jedi was my favourite, and then as I kind of got older, it was Empire Strikes Back and all that. But, yeah, The Phantom Menace, and it copped a lot of kind of heat as a Star Wars movie. I mean, and then you compare it to the new ones, but, like, it copped a fair bit of heat in that period.
I actually think that a big part of it was that people were just not... They just weren't stoked about Jar Jar Binks.
That was a big part of it for sure. I also think, like, there was a lot of chaos with, like, the Empire ruling the galaxy. There was a big bad that overruled everything, whereas in that movie it was a time of peace, and the bad was kind of like sneaky backdoor stuff. So there wasn't as much, like, that fear of that ultimate bad that controls everything.
It was almost like a political thriller.
It kind of was, and, you know, the Jedi kind of showed their way and how they were, but how they were kind of ingrained in the political sphere as well. And then they moved through the next few movies into being, like, right into politics. But yeah, you're right about that. I agree with that comment.
I was very impressed with how good Palpatine looked.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this guy played this role 30 years ago, and he still looks the part.
Yeah, like, he played the role in Return of the Jedi, and he had obviously the makeup and everything on. But, so Ian McDiarmid, who plays Palpatine, I don't know how old he was at the time. I mean, I think Jedi came out in 86, and then I think it was 99 for... So there's probably a good 15 plus years in there where he was, like, doing nothing with Star Wars. And then all of a sudden comes in and he actually looks the part, plays the part. But yeah, no, perfect start, perfect entry kind of thing when you're kind of introducing the new age to, you know, Star.
Now, obviously, Ewan McGregor was already a very well-established actor. Having him play Obi-Wan Kenobi, I thought that was a stroke of genius.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn, beautiful. Loved the character. Loved Liam Neeson. Always loved Liam Neeson.
Took the stage in that role. Ewan McGregor was obviously the big character in obviously the following 2 movies, but played a back seat and looked younger for the part, obviously, because he was playing a 19-year-old Obi-Wan at the time. But Qui-Gon Jinn, like, Liam Neeson stole that movie. If there was any character that did.
And then obviously you've got Natalie Portman, who was just like, she was just so elegant and delivered Queen Amidala so well.
So young.
Yeah.
Her character in that movie was supposed to be 14 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, she was the youngest queen of Naboo, 14 years old, and I guess that's why the whole Amidala Anakin romance kind of blossoms, is because like he was 9, she was 14. You kind of can see how they age up together.
Yeah, I did think it was a little bit odd that she wasn't actually 14, but here's this 9-year-old kid. Like, she didn't look like she was 14 when Anakin was younger.
No,
I'm like,
not really.
Okay, that's a bit awkward. But Hayden Christensen did so well as Anakin. And to see him make his victorious return back into the fold recently, we'll touch on that in the next episode, but just such a good actor. But of course, the 2 other unsung heroes from the first prequel being Christopher Lee as Count Dooku.
Yes, when he came in Clone Wars. Unbelievable.
Oh, I love Christopher Lee so much.
He's brilliant.
And then obviously the great Samuel L. Jackson.
He's in everything. I'm pretty sure he's got a credit in every movie that's ever been made. But yeah, no, Samuel L. Jackson, I mean, you know the story, right? About like him coming into Star Wars?
Tell us.
So he came in and he wanted to be in Star Wars because he's a big fan of cinema. He's on all these movies, and he looks at Star Wars and he goes, "Oh, I want to be in Star Wars. You know, I'll play a stormtrooper. I don't care. I don't care who it is. As long as I see myself running across the screen, I'm like, yep, I'm in Star Wars. Good, right?" And George Lucas is like, yeah, look, we'll think of something. We'll put you in. And he calls him back when they start doing principal photography for Phantom Menace. And they say, well, we've made you a Jedi. And he's like, cool, right. Anyways, so he, makes him a Jedi. And then he comes back for the second one. He goes, oh, they didn't kill me off. And, you can hear like Samuel L. Jackson telling this story as with his charisma and stuff. But he requested from George Lucas a purple lightsaber, and they've actually got...
That's right.
They've actually got this on film. Like, you can actually go and look up the conversation where he asks George Lucas for the purple lightsaber, and it's so like, I want a purple one. And he goes, well...
What was it something like, what color lightsaber am I going to get? Well, there's blue
or there's
red.
green.
Yeah,
green. There's blue or green and red for the bad guys.
I'll have purple.
Yeah, he's like, I want a purple lightsaber. And he goes... look, there's blue or green, or, we'll see. Anyways, when they come back after, adding in the CGI and everything like that, he's like got a purple lightsaber. So,
and I think the introduction of the purple lightsaber also kind of opened up the universe a little bit to the concept of holocron crystals, where the lightsabers can be different colors and they can be swapped out, and they start to become more customizable as you go through the series, and even in the games as well. Like,
the games set such a platform for that kind of like lore and canon. Legends that turned into the canon, which is we've got now, when Disney obviously made the acquisition, but holocrons, Jedi holocrons, and all that kind of stuff. But there was another
midichlorians.
Yeah, it's like mitochondrias, but midichlorians. The thing that was kind of stood out to me, and this has come from the books because I read a lot of the Jedi Apprentice books, was that the lightsaber colors were usually given to a mastery inside the order, so there wasn't that many that had outside the blue or green, but someone who would like focus on the mastery. And there was a style of like lightsaber battling that Mace Windu had called Vapid, which is like a super aggressive, like almost Sith-like style of fighting. That's why it's like purple, and that's kind of how they weave the story in, just from the fact that Samuel L. Jackson asked for a purple fucking lightsaber.
But do you know what? When Samuel L. Jackson comes up and asks you for something, you don't say no.
No.
Ever. I mean, at that point, he was already a megastar,
Yeah, I mean, he had Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction was incredible.
He had Pulp Fiction, like, a couple of years earlier. Talk about real pop culture.
Yeah, absolutely. It blows my brains now, obviously, in this current cinematic timeline, to think about the kinds of movies that come out and the monster budgets that they have, to look at the fact that Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, had a budget of $115 million.
That's quite
and
incredible.
Made 1.1 billion in the cinema.
That's fucking insane. I mean, inflation's hit us pretty hard. So, I mean, movies cost a lot of money, but 115 million, that's incredible.
Like, yeah, I mean, I remember when Paranormal Activity first came out. That was like a $50,000 movie that went on to make like 10 million or something in the cinemas. But like $115 million, not a lot of money. Even in that time, not a lot of money. And what they did with that money was just, it was a masterpiece. And I think the thing about episodes 1, 2, and 3 is that, yeah, they were kind of panned when they came out. People were like, oh, it doesn't...
Somewhat campy.
It feels a little jarring because, like, you've got the episode 4 has a more antique look to its design, but then you've got all the CGI in episode 1, 2, and 3, so, like, where in the timeline are... But, like, I feel like those first 3 movies, like episodes 1, 2, and 3, they have aged well.
I agree with that comment so much, man. They have aged so well. And it's like what you said with Hayden Christensen playing Anakin Skywalker. We didn't realise the genius of the role. Whether it's purposeful or not, we didn't realise it until later on down the track. Like, we kind of understand it a little bit now. Like, I mean, obviously... a lot of it was penned around his acting, whether it's like he could be the dramatic role of the superstar within, like, you know, your Daniel Day-Lewis's and stuff, and he's obviously not that. But for the role he played, he was great.
Yeah, no,
and I liked him so much.
Exceptional. I just wish that he stuck around Hollywood for a bit longer. He just kind of disappeared.
Well, he, after Star Wars, or I think it was it might have been between 2 and 3, or after 3, he made this movie called Jumper.
I remember that.
Do you remember it?
I
It had Samuel L. Jackson in it.
I love the scene of him sitting on the pyramids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was playing with, what was that other actor's name? Jamie something. I think he's English or Irish or something.
Oh, anyway.
We'll get back to it. Anyways, you know, that was a good movie. I enjoyed the shit out of that.
Yeah.
But he was a lead star in that one. And Samuel L. Jackson was bad, evil in that. Very evil.
It's the way it should be with Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson plays the great villain.
Plays great everything.
Honestly, I think you could ask Samuel L. Jackson to play a role in Bridgerton and he would come out with a fucking Emmy.
I would put money on Samuel L. Jackson getting an Oscar for playing Meryl Streep.
Absolutely. And no one plays Meryl Streep like Meryl Streep.
That's it.
But you could see it. You could just see him standing there in that Devil Wears Prada moment where he purses his lips, looks up and down. Okay.
Or even better. Okay, motherfucker. But yeah, look, what was
Best Samuel L. Jackson movie quote?
I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
That's not a real movie.
That's an absolute banger. That is the greatest movie ever made. Give it every Oscar ever produced.
Only after Scorpion King gets its fair share.
Scorpion King.
So, okay, now we talked a little bit about, you know, Star Wars and stuff. What was your favourite entry of, like, the 1, 2, and 3? When they came out, like, out of all 3 of those, was there, like, a favourite movie or moment that kind of stood out to you?
I loved Revenge of the Sith. And the scene that strikes me so, like, it was just so visceral.
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them! Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness.
It was just, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it now. Like, look at that moment was just, it was the creation of this icon. It was the creation of the icon that we had already had in the pop culture zeitgeist, being Darth Vader.
The biggest, baddest villain in all of pop culture.
And I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how much more pop culture there is left to come, there will never be another villain comparable to Darth Vader.
Because of the time, because of what he stood for, because of his power, and not just that, but because of the way he kind of, like, ended. Like, how he died. In the final scenes of Jedi. Like that, because it wasn't, he was beaten. He beat himself, like he became the chosen one. That you can't tell a story and accidentally stumble your way into the zeitgeist like like
No,
that. You
no.
can't accidentally do that.
No, not at all.
And so, I mean, he stands larger than anything. I mean,
I'm just going to say George Lucas is a genius.
he's a genius. And he was a genius at the time when he figured it out. He knew what he had to do.
Motherfucker ended up in hospital while they were making Star Wars episode 4. Nearly died.
Yeah, like, overworked.
Do you know what? Worth it.
Oh, dude. Dude, that is the gift that will forever keep giving. Because Star Wars universe isn't going away anytime soon. Like,
Thank God. Thank God.
We will chat about some of the other stuff coming up in future episodes. Like, obviously, you know, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan series and everything, The Mandalorian. But it all came from this Skywalker Saga of, like, the story of Luke, you know, trying to get through to his father, finding out who he is and where he lives in the universe. And then the story of Anakin and, like, where he came from. Both from Tatooine, both grew up there. Like, I don't know, man. My favorite scene was always, I think it was in Clone Wars when they fought Count Dooku and Yoda came in and showed, like, how good Yoda could be.
Seeing Yoda bouncing around the aircraft, around the cave there with like doing flips and that kind of stuff. Fascinating scene, really fascinating scene.
No one saw that coming.
No, it was very, because everything that we had seen from Yoda up until that point, it was very deliberate and thoughtful and calculated. There were no quick movements. It was just like slow and well thought out, and all of a sudden here's this little fucking puppet doing backflip.
Yeah, and the kind of the story that comes into it too is like how he doesn't really draw the force into his body, like he's using a walking stick, and then suddenly he draws the force into his body and is able to do that kind of stuff. Awesome.
Mate, I'm such a big fan. Obviously you got John Williams who did the music for it as well. John Williams is also like something that I want to talk about at some point down the track. And it's been in my mind so much while I've been editing all of these episodes over the last 10 episodes, is how important music is to what we enjoy, and how much different songs hit at different points. And there's a whole episode that I want to go through there, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But as an example, John Williams, the Imperial March.
Yep, like that, the menacing incoming badness that's going on there.
When this guy is making this music, he didn't have a movie to watch to understand who Darth Vader was.
No.
He had a verbal conversation with George Lucas, and George Lucas described what Vader would look like and what his characteristics were, and John Williams had to go away, and in the same way that the cinematographers and the director had to make Darth Vader, John Williams had to make the sound of Darth Vader,
which is not visual. You can't. It's like you blind yourself. You cannot use your eyes. It's all a different type of sense.
Very much. Again, we keep saying it. We keep using the word iconic, but very much one of the most iconic pieces of cinematic music that will ever be made.
He's such a savant. Like, he's a master of his craft, and it's so great that I always say spoiled, but we're so spoiled with that stuff. But that came back then. This is what's spoiling us now, is what started from this. But yeah, John Williams is incredible.
And John Williams, Danny Elfman, guys like that, you can listen to the soundtrack of a movie, and if one of those two were the composer, you know straight away.
Yeah, 100%.
That is like once in a generation talent right there. So massive fan of what John Williams does. John Williams, I believe, it was the guy behind the Jurassic Park theme song too.
So there's that too. He's just got a few good credits under his name.
I mean, a hell of a lot more than a few, but you know. John Williams, absolute legend, absolute icon, has some of the biggest pieces of cinematic musical history to his name. Very much a fan of what he does. So look, Star Wars Episode 1, really big. Really big movie, small budget, big takings in the cinema box office.
Small budget for the blockbuster that it was, but obviously compared to some movies, it obviously had a big budget because it's Star Wars. But compared to what we're looking at nowadays, 100%.
Crazily enough, though, same budget for Attack of the Clones. Only 650 million in the cinemas.
Right. Maybe that had to do with the panning of, like, The Phantom Menace. Like, it obviously set a precedent for, like, what was to come. But then, obviously, Attack of the Clones and then Revenge of the Sith definitely picked up.
Revenge of the Sith got just shy of 900
Yeah,
mil,
so we started going back. And then, obviously, the rewatchability. Like, it's been... Revenge of the... I know the dates that they came out.
That's how much of a fan... Revenge of the Sith come out?
Revenge of the Sith came out May 5th, 2005.
May 15th, 2005.
In Australia, May 5th.
No, it actually premiered at Cannes on May 15th, 2005.
No
so it wasn't shown
way.
Yeah.
Nah.
And then it came out in the United States on May 19th.
The reason I remember it is because May 4th was the day before. May the 4th be with you. Interesting. Look into it. Anyways, and I also remember...
They were all released around the same time, though. Like, all three of those movies...
In May?
Were, in fact, you know what? Every single movie in the Skywalker Saga was released in May.
You're kidding? All six? Or just those three?
All six.
Okay, that's...
You got May 19th, May 16th, May 19th, May 25th, May 21st, May 25th.
Wow. There you go.
So even the pattern, 19, 16, 19, 25, 21, 25.
There you go. Far out. How many years between the release of Hope and Jedi? Like, so how many years was it to finish that
77 to 83.
77 to 83. Okay, so I got 86 wrong before. So 77 to 83, what's that, 6 years? So there was the same 6 years
between
6
year period.
99 to 2005.
Tell me that George Lucas is not superstitious.
Maybe. I mean, who knows? I'm willing to bet that there's probably something going on there.
I reckon there's an Easter egg somewhere in there. So if you're out there listening in listener world and you have an idea as to why the exact same spread of dates and the exact same time frame, get in contact with us. Let us know.
Very good.
Then, interestingly, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of the Skywalker were all Decembers.
Yeah, they're trying to go for that blockbuster end of year.
And it was over the course of 5 years. So we got J.J. Abrams, who did The Force Awakens and Rise of the Skywalker, and then Rian Johnson, who did The Last Jedi. Fun fact, Rian Johnson later goes on to direct the Knives Out series of movies.
Oh.
Knives Out and The Glass Onion.
That movie, because that was released on Netflix, yeah?
Yeah, man.
That movie was incredible.
That was a cinema movie on Netflix. That was a banger.
I did not watch the first Knives Out, but I watched The Glass Onion. That was a fucking incredible movie.
An incredible whodidit. Like, one of the best.
Yeah, we're talking like... Whew.
So yeah, really, really interesting that he's gone on to do some fantastic things. He didn't just direct Knives Out and The Glass Onion. He fucking wrote the story, man. Like, those two stories are out of his brain hole.
his meat hard drive?
Yeah, his meat hard drive. I love that. Yeah, and obviously, you know, with The Glass Onion, he's working with Edward Norton, he's working with Daniel Craig, with Catherine Hahn, with, you know, like Kate Hudson, Dave Bautista, like massive names in the industry for a Netflix movie from the guy who directed a fucking Star Wars movie 10 years earlier.
Look, I'm a fan of The Last Jedi. I know a lot of people don't. And I would love to chat deeper on those when we touch on like the new Disney era of Star Wars for sure.
If not for Disney, Star Wars is done. 2005, May 19th, 2005, that's it. Gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, George Lucas was obviously the creator and stuff like that. He created Lucasfilm, the studios, you know, Skywalker Ranch and the Skywalker Sound and all the studios that come with that. But we don't get the fan service we get with Disney. We just don't.
It's really interesting, actually, when you look at the history that George Lucas has with the trilogy. Obviously, he's the guy who created the damn thing. But, you know, he didn't actually direct Empire or
Strikes
Return.
Back? No, he didn't.
Didn't direct it, didn't even produce Empire. He just wrote it.
Yeah, he stepped back away from it. I saw a documentary years and years ago about it. I forget the director who did. It was a good director who did number 2.
Irvin Kershner.
Yeah, he's really good. George Lucas came to him with the idea to direct the second Star Wars. And a lot of, back then, sequels were like kaput, right? They were kind of like little cash grabs. They were little cash grabs to kind of profit off the fact that, they've created a brand or something with this, this movie name or this budget, or this whole thing. With him, Star Wars was so big at the time that when George Lucas approached him, he said, he was worried about the sequel kind of effect, but at the same time he goes, it's fucking Star Wars, man.
It's so funny though you say that, because he also directed RoboCop 2. But anyway,
really, Peter Weller, very good.
He was also an actor. He actually acted in Martin Scorsese film too, The Temptation of Christ in '88.
He's got something good. Empire is probably out of all of the 6, is probably the one that stands up the most as the best Star Wars movie.
Yeah, look, I won't disagree with that. Empire is where you really started to see the viciousness of Vader.
Yeah.
Where you started to really understand the dynamic between Vader and the Emperor.
Yeah, and trapping like a Han Solo and the trap at Bespin, the Cloud City.
Like you kind of end The Empire Strikes Back with a feeling of no more hope.
Hopelessness.
Yeah. Like, well, fuck, everyone's then. And then obviously Return of the Jedi comes in and bangs that up. What can you say about this franchise? Like we've spoken for like 40 minutes on this already, but what I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface on the first 3 movies.
No, and I mean, like, the story goes, and we'll kind of run through the story a little bit, but like the story is obviously of Anakin Skywalker, who Qui-Gon was very much within the Jedi Order, believer of the ancient scripts and the ancient scrolls and everything like that. He was a believer of the Chosen One prophecies, and whereas the Jedi had gotten a little bit more political, they've kind of moved away from that, and they were basically the FBI of the Republic. They were, obviously very spiritual, but they were also weaponized, right, as guardians of the Republic. Qui-Gon had thought that the Jedi had lost their way a little bit, and so he became this, like, that's why he wasn't a master. He wasn't on the council because he kind of rejected a lot of the beliefs within the Jedi Order. And he very much was a believer of the prophecy of the Chosen One. And then when meeting Anakin and what Anakin can do, and then he got,
testing his midichlorians.
testing his midichlorian count. What was this, like, it's over 20,000 or something, 400,000. Whatever it was, is like, even Master Yoda doesn't have a count that high. And then you have the introduction of this sinister Darth Maul character played by Ray Park, who is a man of few words. Very little
even
is spoken.
less screen time.
very little is spoken. But he becomes this freaking character within Star Wars that just, like, larger than life. That was so big and so popular within that first movie that him being cut in half, they somehow found a way to bring him back into canon, into Rebels, into Clone Wars, yeah, into the ending scene of Solo.
Yeah, that's right.
And then obviously, there was a few characters, Ray Park and Sam Witwer, who have played both Darth Maul. But, I mean, and then, like you were saying earlier, Ian McDiarmid, who played Palpatine, like, he was a good Palpatine. He was brilliant. He was sinister, but you believe that he wanted the best for the people he was talking to because he was lying. We all knew he was the bad guy. Right? We all knew.
Did you know that McDiarmid actually grew up with Brian Cox and Sean Connery?
Wow.
Same city, same town, everything. So like they all 3 of them came up through theater together.
That's incredible.
Which is actually really cool. Like the amount of actors that we've seen who have become such a, like Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, grew up in that traditional English theater background to become legitimate Hollywood megastars.
Well, I think the big difference between, like, the English side of acting, and there's obviously a prestige to acting in like England. There was very much a prestige, a theatre stage presence, that whenever you practice something a lot, you're going to get good at it. And you're not just acting in scenes that have open ends and all that kind of stuff. You have to play out these scenes throughout a show. You have to tell the show on stage. And then they do the show 5 nights a week, 4 nights a week. They do it for a month. They do it for 3-month runs. They do it for theatres. They take it overseas. They go to Broadway. Like, you get so much more practice coming up through stage than you would as a screen actor. That's like constantly looking for work, thinking you're better than it all. And so that's the incredible thing about those guys.
Yeah, I love everything that these guys do. You can definitely tell that there is a different degree of class to, like, it's a whole different class of acting. You know, these stalwarts of pop culture who have come through from Scotland, from Ireland, from England, who have just completely dominated that era of filmmaking. Just exceptional talent.
There's a presence on I imagine there's a presence on set, but there's a presence on stage from those guys. Like, there's a calmness, but like a control. And then you got the new crop coming through, like James McAvoy and obviously Michael Fassbender, who also get heavily into the stage and theatre, and those guys are brilliant, and they parallel Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen in X-Men.
That's exactly what I love about it, is that the similarities in how they're coming up through it. Just so much to love about those two coming up. Really cool announcement from Ian McKellen a couple of weeks ago, actually. He's been asked quite a bit because he's in his
aging, getting on
80s, and people are like, when are you going to retire? And he literally said, I will die on stage.
Yeah,
I am never going to retire. I love this too much. And you love to see that. Like, you know the old saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And he just emulates that. I'd love to have a drink with the guy. I reckon he'd drink me under the table, but I think he'd be such a good dude to chill with.
Yeah, he's incredible, and he's so good with fans too. Like, fans that walk into him on the street, and he starts putting on like video. Gandalf, like starts doing Gandalf and like Magneto and stuff. And what a difference between Magneto and Gandalf. I mean, we're going off topic because obviously, you know, these guys are the superstars.
There's just so much to talk about.
There is so much to talk about. But Ian McDermott's, obviously the story of him and Palpatine, and then, you know, Qui-Gon Jinn, and how he led the entire movie and then dies.
Yeah, I gotta say, the only death that kind of shook me more than Darth Maul's death was Qui-Gon's death. It was like, wait, but that's old mate. Like, no, they didn't just Sean Bean me, did they?
Yeah, they did.
And they did.
They
Sean Beaned me.
But and by the way, also goes down as the best lightsaber duel.
Oh yeah, Duel of the Fates. Incredible music again. Oh. Thank you very much, John Williams.
Yeah. Duel of the Fates is by far Star Wars.
Absolutely.
Like, that is, when you think of Star Wars, Duel of the Fates.
You don't need to be watching Star Wars or have any reference point for Star Wars to hear that song and know Duel of the Fates.
I mean, yeah.
You don't even have to know where it's from. You know the name straight away because it's just iconic.
No, I definitely agree with
that. I think we're going to call this episode Iconic, a Star Wars journey. So you've said that your favourite of the first 3 movies was Revenge?
So my favourite, I'll go through the bits that I like, right? Mm. So my favourite duel was the Darth Maul duel.
Obviously.
Duel of the Fates. Incredible. Friggin' incredible. My favourite scene was probably what you were touching on earlier, Obi-Wan versus Anakin at the start when they're talking and Anakin's screaming at him, "You will not take it from me.
I have the higher ground."
Only a Sith deals in absolutes, and all of that. That was brilliant.
I'm hearing it echoing in the distance.
Yeah. My problem with... The reason I say the best duel is Duel of the Fates and the Darth Maul one is because it doesn't feel as choreographed. It feels like they're trying to fucking kill each other, right? My only gripe with Revenge of the Sith, and that duel is incredible, is there is parts of it that feel choreographed, like someone's held back to just whack the saber. That's the only thing. And obviously someone, as you can tell from, you know, how I've been through this episode, someone who knows and likes Star Wars.
You could probably act out the entire duel by yourself if you needed to. You don't even need a second person to play Anakin.
I'm not even joking. There was times where me and my sister would literally act it out, like blow for blow. Yeah,
I love it.
But and then obviously the big one was the Christopher Lee and his control as like this dark Jedi Sith Lord as Count Dooku when he easily defeats Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Yeah. Yeah. Christopher Lee just has such a presence about him. Like, that booming voice, the presentation of everything that he does, it's just a masterclass.
Yeah. I mean, rest in peace, Sir Christopher Lee. What a champion.
I know.
But I mean, like, he was at the age. Like, we won't, he was definitely there. But God, what a gift. What a life he gave. And to be in Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, like, come on.
To play two, like, I mean, yeah. Oh, just, what a legend. What a legend. A sorely missed legend, but what a legend.
It's kind of cool how we have these conversations, because you never really sit there and think about this stuff until you are actually talking about it. And you sit there and go, holy shit, like, he gave us Saruman. He gave us Count Dooku. He gave us so many of these characters, and that's just in our era, in our age. There's obviously so much more he's done before.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, when we're watching him while we're in our teenage years, he's already in his 60s, and then his 70s, and then, like, it just... But, like, legends. Legends. Absolute legends.
And I think that's part of the reason it ages so well, is having these legends on board. Having Sir Ian McDiarmid, having Count Dooku, Sir Christopher Lee, and then obviously Ewan McGregor, champion in his own right? He's got to be Sir Ewan McGregor at some point. Surely
he has to be.
Has to be.
He's done everything.
I mean, yeah, him and Benedict Cumberbatch are going to get knighted one day. They've got to be.
Sir Beanbag Cucumber Snatch.
I'm not even acknowledging you right now.
Beanbag Cucumber Snatch.
Very
good.
good.
It's the best one I've heard so far.
Yeah, the memes were good. The memes were very good. And then...
he's a good sport about it, old Beanbag, too.
Very good. I think they... a local newspaper, I saw a thing come out when those memes were going around, put out a...
Please stop doing this.
No. He put out like we humbly wish to tell everyone that Benedict Cumberbatch and his wife got married, but they mentioned his name 3 or 4 times in the little snippet, and every time they changed the way it was said. It's so funny.
That's fantastic.
I saw it and I read it. I'm like, that's gold. That's comedy gold.
That is absolutely fantastic. And, he loves it too.
Oh, look, I mean, he's a good sport. He's a very good sport. But, oh, God, I'm exhausted from, like, drilling up this Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think we could probably start wrapping it up for this episode, because we've already gone on for long enough, and certain people listen to this episode on their drive to work, and you're going to be driving around your workplace for a little bit longer this morning, my dude. Man, it's so hard to do a podcast episode about Star Wars, especially when the episode is only 40-50 minutes, because you don't know where to start, where to stop, because there is just so much to cover.
And as we found out kind of today, it's the fear of the tangenting. Like, you talk about Sir Christopher Lee, and then suddenly you're talking about Saruman, suddenly you're talking about, like...
But this is why I think it's important for us to talk about this stuff in this kind of, like, open, flowing nature, because, like, it's not just the movies that we got. It's the people involved with the movies that literally became icons, that literally became living legends, that literally became... They were written in the annals of history, and will forever be remembered as these incredible characters, as these characters that have entered into the zeitgeist and essentially are gods of popular culture.
Well, these are our stories of Odysseus. These are our legends, our myth.
Absolutely.
And these are the things that we translate through, because it's the ones that stand out the most, like Star Wars, for example, it's the parables of, like, the good versus evil, the evil within, the story of love. Like, the parables that are told in these stories are the parables that are told in mythology. And that's what our mythology is now, and that's what I hope that will get looked back on as, the things that stand out. And you can tell when a movie's a cash grab. We're into pop culture, but you can tell when something's like they bought the brand just to kind of like make some money, and they don't understand the true art form. Which sucks because, I mean, if I had the budget and the time, I'd make it something, man. That's how much we love it.
Yeah. Obviously, you know you've arrived when, just as a natural progression of the story that you've told, people start to declare themselves a Jedi as their religion.
I'm down. I'm down for that religion. I mean,
you know that you've done something truly remarkable when people, whether it's tongue firmly placed in cheek or whether or not people genuinely believe in the core values that the Jedi operated by. That's what makes it so easy to connect with, because I think inherently we all want to live that life.
I agree with you so much on that. And if someone's willing to call themselves a Jedi and call it their religion and act by good core values of like protecting the innocent, standing up for the weak, all those kind of things, like, mate, I recognize your religion any day of the week.
Absolutely.
But dude, look, Star Wars.
So much to cover, and we haven't even finished yet. But right now, we are going to wrap this episode up, and you can look forward to episode 12, which will be out shortly, where we cover the next 3 episodes of the Star Wars saga. Look, there's just so much. There's so much to love about the first 3 entries. Well, not the first 3 entries. The second 3. Ladies and gentlemen, Dean has just farted. And Dean is absolutely terrified at the prospect of me editing that sound into the podcast. So for today's episode, there will be no dad joke. There will just be this excerpt of this episode.
Very good.
I hope you enjoy that.
Oh, mate.
So,
when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Look, there's so much to love about the Star Wars entries, the first Star Wars entries, episodes 1, 2, and 3. So much to be excited about. We're gonna touch on the next 3 episodes, probably a little bit shorter episode next go around, and then we're gonna wrap this first season of the post-credit show with a very special Christmas edition where we're gonna talk about our favorite and least favorite Christmas movies. And I'm just gonna say it right now: no, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
Look, I don't know enough about it to watch it, but I mean, there's so many people that live by that, obviously because of the fandom behind Jake Peralta and the Brooklyn Nine-Nine crew.
I'm gonna say it right now. A Christmas movie is a movie that revolves around the fact it being Christmas, not just the fact that Christmas happens in the movie as the story progresses.
Well, I mean, a lot of the things happen because it's Christmas, but we'll agree to disagree.
Star Wars isn't a Christmas movie, but fuck. Alright, cool. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us. Like I said, we will be back very, very soon with part 2 of our Star Wars. Well, I mean, it's not really a Star Wars breakdown, is it? It's a Star Wars absolute markout.
I think
we're just losing our minds here.
I think it's just like Star Wars and like what its impact is.
And I think there's so much more that we haven't covered. So,
agreed.
We will see you next week. Until then, say hi to your mum for me.
May the Force be with you.
Deuces.